A lot of people think there's not a lot to a leg extension, so they just sit down and start kicking away. And really there is. There's a lot to be picky about, starting with what you're doing in your knees. But remember the setup. Now, you've got to go back and review how to set up the leg developer in general, hooking up the ropes and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you do that on the previous section of the DVD covering that topic. But let's start up here. Take a look at the position you're seated in, the spinal position. A lot of times if you're leaning forward or even vertical, straight up and down, erect, that's going to be a position where a lot of people can't straighten out their legs because their hamstrings are so tight. So you might have to lean back a little bit. You can put your hands back here and rest like Josh is, just a little bit back on your arms if you need to. The next thing is you'll need to predetermine the range at which you want to start your extension. So what that means is I could come clear up to here using this little adjusting mechanism, and therefore I'm not starting with much bend in my knee. I'm just working towards the straightening part. Or I could come down to what is roughly a 90-degree bend in the knee, that's typically prescribed as a pretty normal place to start for most people. For the extreme, like we might do with Josh here, is to start way back there at about a 100-degree, 105-degree bend in the knee. The other thing you'll have to decide, of course, is whether you want the pads at the high position or the low position. I personally almost always put it at the high position for everybody I work with because it slightly improves the forces on the anterior cruciate ligament inside the knee. So anyway, those are some adjustments you can make also based on comfort. But now here's the big one. Take a look at this knee. A lot of people sit on the machine with their legs flared out and their legs rotated out. Now if he tries to straighten his leg in this position, his kneecap is rotated out. The axis of his knee is not really lined up with the axis of the machine. So it's going to cause potentially a little bit of trouble inside of his knee. What we'd like for him to do is keep these thighs parallel and rotated so that the kneecap is right on top. Now watch as he straightens out. You can see the kneecap stays on top. If I look down from the top, or if he looks down on his own knee, he can see as much of the knee joint inside the kneecap as he can knee joint outside the kneecap. So he's not rotated either direction, too far in or too far out. And you really can't judge that by where the feet are. A lot of people say, you mean point the feet in and point the feet out? I really suggest you forget about your feet, because moving the feet does not necessarily align the knees correctly. This is the part you should be looking at. Now once you've done all that, the key is use these muscles efficiently. Tighten them before you move. Use the tension to create the extension. Don't just kick out there. All right? So once you tighten up, now use the tension to slowly control the way down and keep that tight in there. Just in your head, it's almost like you're trying to create a fist inside of your quads, and you're keeping that tension all the way down and then regrouping and tightening and squeezing all the way to the top.